We are live on Proline TV, the Our Football Network, as we talk a little bit NFL and college football. Of course, that's what we're going to talk about. It's still September, thank goodness. A lot of football ahead. Hopefully you joined us for our Playbook ATS podcast show that was on Thursday, every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern with these two gentlemen, including Andy Iskoe. You can also catch Andy Iskoe with Jim Feist when they put out the weekly alternate lines and teaser reports. That comes out now every Wednesday here on the channel normally. And then Victor Cruz also is with Jim Feist, and that comes out every Friday talking about totals and props.
You
so
mean
guys,
Victor Cruz? King.
I mean Victor King. I don't know why I'm starting to say Victor Cruz lately. I don't know where that's coming from. I guess it's football season.
Maybe Victor's going on a cruise. I'll have to check with
yeah, maybe. So anyway, that's why they're here, by the way, to correct me. I am getting ready for the weekend. How about you guys? We got just one game in the books.
That was a good one. It should never have been that close, but somehow these teams that get ahead keep giving up leads. I mean, look at the Rams did last week. Seattle did last night. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, the NFL loves it being all these games. They would like to make every game exciting and come down to every decision being decided inside the 2-minute mark of the football game. We saw a lot of that last week for sure.
Well, pretty soon we're going to have 32 backup quarterbacks playing in the NFL. We're at 6 now. So
nobody got hurt yesterday, did they?
No, we're changing in the Giants are changing.
Well, wouldn't that be a great prop though, Jim? How many backup quarterbacks will start in the NFL?
I'm sure they got it out there somewhere.
Well, we got 6 already, so I'd say it's going to be 10 at least.
At least by the end of the season, that's for sure. And Arizona did what bad teams do. This is, again, another problem that we've talked about with some of these other teams at the beginning of the season is teams that are just so used to losing and so used to doing losing things did a losing thing when they kicked the ball and gave Seattle the ball at the 40-yard line. I mean, you just can't do stupid stuff like that. You never see the good teams doing those things.
But I mean, really, but are there any good teams? They all seem to be like these days in the NFL. It seems like there aren't any really top quality A++ teams. It's more like a B+ team versus.
Well, there's no doubt that there's a sliding scale to what we're having to deal with, Jim.
We're really suffering with starting quarterbacks. Even when they're all the starting quarterbacks, we don't have a lot.
We saw that last year also, Jim.
Yeah,
it's not going to change.
It's hard to find. And the other thing is, I'm sorry, these owners are. I know they made a lot of money and they have a lot of money, and you can't really knock them for their intelligence and doing whatever they did to get their money. But man, I'll tell you, you cannot pay all this money to these quarterbacks and then not develop an offensive line to protect them. I cannot understand that. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense.
Hands are tied.
You have your most valuable possession, which by money is your quarterback, but you're not protecting them. I mean, that makes no sense.
It would be nice if we could get an analytic team like in the NFL. I know they use analytics, but I'm talking about like a Tampa Bay Rays type of football team or an Oakland A's type of team like you're talking about, Jim, that says, well, we're not going to do what all those other teams are. We're not going to spend $80 million on a quarterback and $10 million on our offensive line. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to get a cheap quarterback, and we're going to build our team throughout the offensive line and this position and that position. And I don't know if it'll work, but it would be nice to see.
You know what would be interesting to see would be a breakdown of the positional salaries by each position in the National Football League. Maybe you might find a change of thought by the owners there when they find out that the NFL quarterbacks draw the most, the wide receivers get the second most. Might be the secondary gets the third most. The offensive linemen are probably, as you mentioned, Jim, grossly underpaid, and they're most vital to the success of the football team. I think that thinking has to change. I agree with you.
I don't know. How do you run the ball if you don't have an offensive line that can open holes? How do you throw the ball downfield if you only allow your quarterback a second and a half to be set up and throw? How do you do it? It doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, when you look at the way Philadelphia, now I know they're the champions from last year, but look at the way they play. They don't play a dominant quarterback style football. Now, last year they got a lot of yardage out of their running back. This year, they used them so much last year. They almost had 400 carries. This
so
year,
here's the value right there of the contracts. Can you see this?
It's hard to see it. It's really small. I can't read it.
The bigger I put this up, the bigger these damn ads pop up. All right. So this is Mahomes. These are all the players that are making, the top contracts for each position. So you've got the value here, and then we can move it on over to, let's say, offensive lineman.
Oh.
So Tristan Wirfs is making the most.
And he's out.
Yep.
Unless he plays this week, he's been out.
Let's see. So here you go. So the average salary is $28 million for the top offensive lineman, and the average for the top quarterback is $45 million. So $20 million more average for the top quarterback. So you'd have to go all the way down to, let's see, you have to find a $20 million quarterback average. Let's see. Well, here's the $12 million. Well, that's a rookie. Justin Fields. He's making $20 million. He's the 21st richest paid quarterback. And Tristan Wirfs is the one that's making a little bit more money than Fields. So that's your comparison right there, Jim. A Justin Fields type, which, to tell you the truth, if you can build a team, good offensive line, running backs, defense, and everything, you might be able to win a championship with Justin Fields if he's playing at his best.
Well, in some ways, is Hurts really a top quality quarterback, or is he more of a
manager?
He has the ability to do a lot of things with his legs and with his arms, but he's not a Mahomes. He's not comparative there, but he has a great offensive line. They have a great defensive line. They control the game. They're basically playing chess when the other guys in the league are playing checkers. And all they care about is they have these superstar divas that they're paying all this money to. But the guys that make it work are the offensive and defensive lines. You
don't have to convince the old school coaches in the NFL of that. That's for sure.
Mark, you and I go back a lot of years. There was a book written, and I read the book, and I cannot remember the name of the writer or the name of the book. And it was so long ago. It was about offensive line, how the importance of the offensive line. Do you remember that book? It was maybe 25, 30 years ago.
No, I don't. Would it be available like through the Gamblers Book Club, or did it not really have anything to do with gambling?
No, it was definitely, it had to do with football.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's sort of like that. Yeah, it was a football-related book. So that, to me, that's gambling. But
and look at the running back. You have to go to see Barkley is making $20 million. He's the highest average running back. So he's right there with Fields. So basically, you could get Justin Fields and Saquon Barkley in the backfield for cheaper than you can pay one of these top 5 quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts.
Now, if you build up a great offensive line that can protect and open holes, that's going to be a devastating. If you take that theory, go away from these guys that can, they're fragile. They're fragile. I mean, last week, Herbert got hit 15 times by the Denver defense. If he continues to get hit like that, he is not going to be around the rest of the year.
Yeah, his lineman got hurt though. So
but if you build your offensive line and you have build up in your backup offensive line.
That's the problem, Jim, is there's not enough talent in the NFL for that. There just isn't. If you're a really good backup, you're a starter somewhere. There's no such thing as a really good backup offensive lineman.
You handle the college a lot. Aren't there enough good offensive linemen in college to bring in more?
No,
they're
unfortunately not.
No. Okay,
I don't think they're discussed enough.
And they just don't exist. Okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it definitely has to do with coaching and the way the game is being played now. It's just a lot different.
Hey, Greg, can you take a look at that chart and see where wide receivers stack up on this thing? Because I have a feeling they're laying out a lot more money to wide receivers than you think they are. And it could end up being where a large portion of the pie is going to, as opposed to the offensive line.
Yeah, well, all you have to do is see here.
I'm sure you're right, Mark.
I mean, Chase is making an average of $40 million.
Right.
And you'd have to go down to the 12th receiver, Cortland Sutton, who averages the same amount as Tristan Wirfs, the number 1 tackle. And I'd much rather have Tristan Wirfs than Cortland Sutton.
Absolutely. Well, you need the Tristan Wirfs to be able to get the ball to the Cortland Suttons. Okay.
Yes. That's it.
Jim, your point is excellent. It's spot on. They need to address this offensive line in the National Football League, and any owner that's worth his salt should be able to see that and do something about it. I agree with you.
But is there anybody that's even close to thinking that way?
Well, what's going to be interesting is to follow Detroit because I think they're the one that has the closest model to what you're talking about, Jim, because they have a star receiver. And lo and behold, what a surprise, Garrett Wilson is making just the same as I'm on the same round. So Aaron Glenn is following the Detroit model. I'm going to pay one guy. I'm not going to pay him crazy, $30 million. That's okay. But then if you look at it, you have this Williams kid who's due for a contract. And I don't know if Detroit's going to pay him. I don't think they're going to, because that's a lot of money to shell out for a number 2 receiver. And they just drafted this kid in Tesla, who's looking good as a rookie, who I think they'll just move him into the number 2 role next year. Let Williams walk. And then that's the team I think you're probably talking about that, would is not going to spend a crazy amount of money on wide receivers.
Speaking of Detroit, I want to ask your opinion on this. Last year, I thought the Detroit Lions were the team that had a really great potential to make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. But at the end of the year, they had these cluster injuries on defense that just destroyed them. Then, of course, in the offseason, they lost their offensive and defensive coordinator and lost their all-star center, and everybody kind of dropped them down. Now, after what we saw they did to Baltimore the other day, which, I mean, the score wasn't that far apart, but they really handled the offensive line of Baltimore pretty easily and didn't have any trouble. I mean, Goff didn't get touched. He wasn't sacked at all. And are they a legitimate contender again, like they were last year, in your opinion?
I think with less pressure on them this year too, Jim. I think all the pressure was on them last football season. So much was expected from them. And then, as you mentioned, the injuries came at an untimely part of this football season here. I think they're going to be playing a little bit more footloose and fancy free this year. And what really impressed me when I saw Goff in his last football start here, he looked like an A+ quarterback in the National Football League. As you mentioned, he got a lot of time to throw, but man, the kid can put the ball right where it needs to be.
He is accurate, yeah.
Yes, he is.
The line moved up to 10, and I was actually kind of surprised when I talked on Monday's weekend recap show that Jim and I do, that line was 7. He wasn't with me this Monday, some obligation, and I was looking at the line, and I was, wow, 7. That's a little, but again, they hadn't played yet. So they go and play, beat Baltimore, and the line jumps to 10. And it's like, really, I guess they needed to see that. But even at 10, I don't know. I just think that after what Cleveland did last week, It's so hard for teams to come back and duplicate that kind of success as a dog. Matter of fact, Kevin Stefanski, he has a pretty weak record. If you look at this, and obviously I found it on the Playbook magazine.
I recognize that.
Stefanski's 2-12 as a dog in his career against the spread off a straight up ATS win versus a 500 or better team.
Wow.
So for whatever reason, when Stefanski gets that team up, win a big game as an upset, they come back down to norm the next week. And that's kind of what I see here. I know Detroit had a really emotional win, and it's a short week, but I'd be kind of surprised if this game wasn't over by the fourth quarter.
Well, those Stefanski numbers are what they are, largely because of who he's dealing with, the cards that he's dealing with. He doesn't really have the most talent in most of the football games that he plays. So I think he gets the best out of his football team. And unfortunately, when you put them through the sifter and you analyze those numbers, there's going to be some really bad numbers there. He's not a good underdog, surprisingly. But like I'm saying, it's because of the cards that he has, the players that he has. They are not upper echelon in the National Football League, and he's a coach that absolutely gets the best out of them.
Is their defense, I mean, legitimately as good as they've looked? Because on that side of the ball, they are brutal.
Yeah, well, that draft pick to get Mason Graham, that's why I really thought that the move made a lot of sense for both Cleveland and Jacksonville, especially for Cleveland, because they're able to move down a few spots in the draft and pick up one of the better defensive tackle prospects that's been around in a while, in Mason Graham. And now you put Mason Graham on the same line as one of the best edge rushers, or the best edge rusher in the NFL. And we can see week to week how Cleveland can be a problem for some teams at the line of scrimmage. And they got a number one corner in Ward whenever he's healthy. I think the problem with the Browns defense, though, is, of course, they lost, their top linebacker. He won't be back till next year. And their secondary has had a few players that have underwhelmed the last couple of years. They have to kind of bring in some better talent there, and I think they will. But overall, there's still an above-average defense. And the problem is when the offense goes out there and performs the way that it did last week, it's surprising that their defense can hold up for that long.
Well, they're the number one ranked defense in the entire National Football League, allowing less than 200 yards a game. I think that's a real credit to the football team. I believe, is it Jim Schwartz, their defensive coordinator?
Yes.
Yes. He's really, really well-liked and really well-respected, and I think he has the command of the players. And I think he has a lot to do with the success of their defense as well.
Okay.
It's brutal. I mean, the offense doesn't give them any support at all. I mean, they can't score. I don't know how the hell they scored 13 points in the last 3 minutes to win that game, but, I mean, they pulled it off. But they basically don't do anything on offense.
No, they don't.
Yeah, and again, though, and getting back to their draft day trade, the other reason why it's a really good trade is because it ensured that they were going to be able to get the quarterback that they want to get in next year's draft. That's why they did it. And there's going to be about 5 or 6 quarterbacks that are going to come out that the Browns are going to be scouting all season. And they're going to have their choice because they're going to have 2 premium draft picks. So even if they end up with like the 3rd or 4th pick, as long as a team or 2 in front of them doesn't need a quarterback, they can just trade with whoever's in front of them with all that capital, move up and get the guy they want. And the Browns in 2026 will have a good, young, shiny new toy, a quarterback to go along with this really good defense.
They have 2 rookie quarterbacks right now. Why are they playing? They know they're not going anywhere. Why are they playing Flacco when they could be trying out these quarterbacks to see what they have in them? I mean, don't they have to figure out if they have anything there? I mean, yeah, granted, Flacco's got to go because he's older, but what are they doing by playing him instead of trying out these rookies?
It won't last long, Jim. Sooner or later, he's going to make that change. Probably more like mid-October, you're going to see a change. I think he'll go to Dylan Gabriel, and we'll get a lot of him. And then at the end of the season, maybe December, we'll see Shedeur Sanders if he's still on the team. But they know a lot about the quarterbacks, the backup quarterbacks, because they played a lot in the preseason. They got a lot of snaps, and they saw a lot of what they're capable of. And I think in Sanders, while he has a really, really good eye and he throws a really, really good ball, The problem is he holds onto the ball far, far too long. And you cannot take sacks continuously and lose yards when you're a quarterback. And I think maybe we put this in the coffee club, that his average drop back time is like a half a second worse than any of the worst quarterbacks, the starters in the National Football League. So he may not be the answer, but I think we're going to see Dylan Gabriel sooner than later.
Yeah, and I think Gabriel was a smart pick because what you picked up there was, all right, you got a flyer. What happens if he's Brock Purdy? Because he has a lot of the similarities as Purdy. A ton of experience. Good. A lot of good. Smarts, all that kind of stuff. But if that doesn't work out, you have a really good backup quarterback that you can grow with the guy that you're going to pick in 2026. I don't think it's going to be Sanders. Sanders was just like, well, this guy's here. I guess we should take him. I mean, it's the 5th round or 6th round. Nobody else taking him. Let's take him.
They moved a couple of draft picks to move up to get him, actually.
Yeah, well, they're like, let's go get him now, which made a lot of sense because, again, we talked about it a few months ago. When you're picked that far in the draft, you don't have to worry then about a lot of the media attention taking too much of the attention to this kid. Which is what the Browns just don't need right now. It's the same reason the Jets said goodbye to Aaron Rodgers. It didn't have anything to do with his talent. It had to do with the distractions. They don't need the distractions, and that's why I think, to answer your question, Jim, like Mark said, and I completely agree, Flacco will start until the Browns midseason, and then they're out of it. And then they go to Gabriel because they need some structure, though. I think they need to get some winning in for a lot of young guys who had miserable seasons last season, and it was a bad year, and they got to get some, like last week. They got it. They didn't win a game like that more than likely last week with a rookie quarterback. So they got to get some really nice wins, some good atmosphere returning back into that locker room. And as soon as they can do that, then they can turn their attention to Gabriel and move on to the 2026 draft, which I think if you're a Brown fan, I think you just have to be really excited with that defense and picking up a shiny new toy next year.
So who becomes the number 1 quarterback drafted in the 2026 draft? It's supposed to be a loaded class. And what I had read was a little bit surprising to me, that before the season began, a lot of scouts were really keyed in on this. Is it Fernando from
Mendoza
from Indiana, who's put up some phenomenal numbers here, obviously, and they like what they see. Will Mendoza possibly be a number 1 pick, you think, Greg?
I think he'll be a first-round draft pick, but I also think that, again, it's the media. They get too carried away sometimes with kids that just come out and have a couple of really good games. And, he looked pretty good at Cal last year. There's still some growing, but he's got the talent. I think we need to give him the whole season to see exactly how much talent the kid has. I mean, again, this was actually the bad part of the portal. We talk a lot about the good part. This is the bad part. You had California, and you know this, Mark, Justin Wilcox, defensive coach, the last several years. Well, since he's been there, it's defense, defense, defense. We can't score any points. He finally finds a quarterback in Mendoza. Finally. And then the kid leaves. So that's the thing that drives you crazy about the portal in a negative way for teams like Cal. That just imagine how much different the Cal team would be this year if Mendoza was still there. So
is that where he came from, California?
Yeah.
Wow.
But keep in mind that there are others. I mean, Sellers from South Carolina. You've got we still don't know about Arch Manning. We've got Nussmeier from LSU. We got Drew Aller, who we're going to see tomorrow night, and that's going to be a big game for him against Oregon. And he's my favorite at this point. But I think if Manning comes out, he's going to be the top pick. There's just no doubt in my mind. He's the top pick of the draft. He's got too many. His tools are just so much better than a lot of these other quarterbacks. Just a matter of we need to give him a little bit of time this season so he can show you what he's got. And how about that bad luck for that Mateer kid from Oklahoma?
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine being an Oklahoma fan and hearing the news that he's out for a while.
Yeah, he really jacked that program up initially right out of the gate. Is he out for the year? Do you know, Greg?
No, but he's going to be out possibly for enough time that it could just derail their season. The hope is that he comes back in time that, they don't lose enough games that they're still in it. So, because they had national championship aspirations the way he was playing. And now they got to go to a backup. And we'll see. And it was just before the Texas game that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Unfortunately, that would have been a great game to see Mateer go up against Manning. But I don't think we're going to see that.
Well,
okay.
Let me shift gears here real quick before you run with the ball
Sure.
here, Greg. And I have to ask Jim this question. What's wrong with the Baltimore Ravens?
First of all, I think the stat about them losing double-digit leads in the fourth quarter, I think, comes down to the coach. I think he has a tendency or a mentality that years ago, when they had that incredible defense that they had, that they could depend on that and you couldn't score on them. They don't have that anymore. There's no defense that's that good that you can't score on, because the rules have all changed so much to favor the offenses. So that's one problem. And I also think that Lamar somehow, and man, this guy is so talented. It's hard to say anything negative about him, but he seems to get like a deer in the headlights when the game, it gets so big.
Matters most, right?
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable talent. You cannot say anything more about his talent. It's incredible. But there's something wrong. He doesn't close the deal. And I know from playing in one sport at a professional level, there are people that when they are in a position to win, they actually get tight. I've seen it. And they're better, but they're not better at that point because something happens mentally to them. And it could be coach on down. It could be Harbaugh being conservative with the lead, not putting his foot. Like Dan Campbell, you're not going to see him do that. He's got you down 14 in the fourth quarter. He's going to try to beat you by 40.
Yeah, he wants more, right?
Yeah, but Harbaugh's not like that. He goes the other direction. We got you by 14. Now we're going to sit on the lead. We're going to let the defense beat you. And then lo and behold. Now, the other night, it did seem like the defensive line of the Lions dominated the offensive line of the Ravens. Now, injuries, I'm sure, part of that. But Lamar did not have a great deal of time to sit in the pocket and pick out receivers.
Well, that problem is not going away. Baltimore, if you look at their offensive line, they've got Ronnie Stanley, who is pretty up there now in age.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's not the player he was, but he's still okay when he's healthy. They had a draft pick last year, Rose Garden, that surprisingly played better than people thought, but he's still only a second-year player at right tackle. They've got a nice center, better young centers in the league. Unfortunately, the two guards they've got one guard that I think was a 7th-round draft pick who just started last year, and they got another guard who Tony Lombardi, my Baltimore analyst for years now, and we've been talking the last year about, he just can't understand at all why he starts. He does not like him, doesn't understand why the Ravens keep putting him out there, and they keep putting him out there. And that's a problem that is not going away for Baltimore.
Is that a depth issue on that behalf, Greg?
Yeah, they don't have anybody else. Yeah. This is what they believed in, though. They didn't go out in the draft. I think they drafted one young player, but I think he might be hurt. But it's a young 4th-round pick anyway. They didn't invest heavy on the offensive line in free agency or the draft. And that's their own fault. That's for them believing that they're okay. These guys are okay. And they're wrong. And so that's what they're going to have to deal with. And unfortunately, remember a couple of years ago when the Ravens lost that home playoff game? What was it? 2 years? Was it 2 years they lost that home playoff game to the Chiefs? I think it was. I remember. Yeah, I remember in that game. That's when they fired the OC because they said, "Oh, is throwing why are we throwing the ball as much as we are? We need to run the ball more." And they kept throwing the ball, and they looked, and that's part of the problem. Is that I think there's a disconnect between maybe finding the right guy on offense to make the right decisions come playoff time, and then throw in the fact that you have the situation at wide receiver that the Ravens finally, I mean, they used to always complain that Lamar Jackson needs better receivers, and if you give him the receivers, he's going to be just as good as Burrow and Mahomes. Well, they got him the receivers, and it's still a problem, like you said, Jim, because it doesn't matter how many good receivers you put there, unless they're superstars like an A.J. Brown type, or a Jamar Chase, where you just throw the ball up and they'll come get it. The fact is that it's up to the quarterback in the playoffs and big moments to be able to step up, and he is not stepping up. And I don't think that's going away either.
Well, we talked earlier about there is no stick-out team in the National Football League. No one team that I think anybody fears having to play this football season. I don't even know how comfortable you'd feel snapping the rubber band for a future Super Bowl winner here. There's just no stick-outs here.
Well, the Bills are the only team, and I know that they have some potential defensive limitations at corner that need to be looked at, but we still got the trade deadline. But you just do remember how this happens in a lot of sports when you have a team that just can't get over the hump. Every year you wonder, why can't they win the big one? Why can't they beat those teams? But then there's always that year when all the other teams come back down and they're still kind of up here. They're flawed, but they're still up here. And then it's like, that's their year. Because all those other great teams that were having great years are not having great years. And this, I think, might be the fix for the Buffalo Bills, is that they're still the same team that they've been the last couple of years. I don't think they're any worse. I'm not sure they're any better. But everybody else is regressing, and I think they're still like hanging there. And I think now this is going to be their year to take it and win the Super Bowl. So that'd be the team if I had to pick one. I'd probably pick Buffalo and maybe stick with my pick with Detroit in the preseason. I'd go with Buffalo and Detroit in the Super Bowl.
Detroit is looking very impressive, but I have to ask, we have the defending champion. How much further down are the Eagles down from last year? Is there something that changed in your mind that says this isn't the best team?
OC so far.
What's
Offensive
that?
coordinator so far.
Okay, but it's a
They
young
replaced both
young
also.
season.
Right.
Now they came back late against the Rams last week.
Yeah,
Do we
so
do we put that on the Rams or do we put that on the OC?
What's that?
The reason they came back in that game. Did the Rams do something wrong, or did Philadelphia do something right?
I put it on just that's the Super Bowl winning team that came back and needed a little bit of field goal special teams.
Special teams magic is what they needed.
And that's really
that team. I don't know how you don't throw the ball to this guy every time. I mean, who the hell can guard Brown? I mean, this guy is he's super talented. If you get him the ball, he's going to get it.
He looks like a runaway freight train, doesn't he?
Oh my God, yes.
And the other thing, keep an eye on the Eagles. Their weakness is their secondary, and that hasn't changed. That's still, they got a couple of players back there, but that's still their weakness. So unless they rectify that, that's something that,
Is that different than last year?
Yeah, they lost several players. They lost a player or two in the secondary. They lost a really good, matter of fact, they lost some depth along the defensive line. And keeping in mind, it's only the fourth week of the season. So when you lose some depth like that, maybe you don't see that the fourth week of the season, but you might miss it late in the season when there might be more injuries and things of that nature. So yeah, the Eagles lost some talent from last year's team, and that secondary for sure. And they lost their offensive coordinator, who is now the head coach of the Saints. So I think that's a loss that definitely, you can't not, you have to be blind, obviously, to recognize that something's wrong with the offense. And there's only one big change, and that's the offensive coordinator.
Well, the offensive coordinator left Detroit, and last week that did not look like it mattered.
No, not for Detroit. Nope. So
they're making adjustments. Detroit is.
Yeah.
I don't know if Philadelphia is. And the only reason I'm saying it is they're not looking at all, like Jim mentioned, what's going on in Philadelphia. They're winning games, but they're not doing it impressively. And how long can that continue? That's the question here. If Philadelphia ends up not being the team, Jim, what team that is playing right now would you buy a future on that isn't in the mix, isn't in the conversation, but you think could be?
I'm looking over the sheet. Every team's. I don't see anybody. There. Well, boy. Here's a team that plays early Sunday morning, Minnesota. Now, I'm only going to say this is a partial analysis because they don't really have a quarterback. McCarthy is not going to win at this level yet. He might in a year or two because I think he has tremendous talent. They're playing with Wentz. Now, Wentz is a capable guy. He's played six teams in 6 years. But their team overall, starting with the head coach, offense, defense, running back, everything, every position, they're very good. But they don't have a quality quarterback. But they have everything else. But they don't have a quality quarterback. Now, granted, Wentz is capable, but nobody's going to expect him to be a Mahomes or a Josh Allen. How many teams? You look down this list, Philadelphia sits there, and I say, what's going to knock them off their perch? Well, I have to go back to what I thought last year, which I thought Detroit was the best team in the NFC until there was injuries. Now, if they can overcome that this year with the OC and the DC and the center, then I'm going to probably elevate Detroit into into par with.
Well, here's the problem, though, Jim. You have to make that decision now because if Detroit keeps winning, you're not getting 10-1 anymore. This will drop.
I'm just talking overall. I'm not trying to make a bet.
Well, that's what the question was. As far as the future right now.
The question is, who is the best team? I'm going to put Detroit in the situation with Philadelphia, and I don't know if Minnesota is going to be able to handle their quarterback issue with what they have, but they have the roster. Now, the team that I bet on early in the season, this was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're easily the best team in their division, and winning in your division is key because it gets you a great position in the playoffs. You're in the playoffs, and if you don't lose too many players, you're in good shape. Well, unfortunately, they lost a lot of players. They played last week with 3 offensive linemen out. They still won. Now they're going to play the Eagles with maybe Worth is coming back this week. That's a possibility. That could help. But it's still Philadelphia. It's still tough. But they have a good history about beating Philadelphia in this spot. Who else? Baltimore?
God, there's nothing wrong with Tampa Bay, though, Jim, because as we talked about yesterday, remember, everybody that's hurt right now for the Bucs, except for Kancey, is supposed to return. And Baker Mayfield, in my estimation, right now is player of the year. Yeah, well,
through 3 games, he is the superstar in the league. But if he doesn't have an offensive line, he's going to probably end up in the hospital. And God, I hope that doesn't happen. But you can't play without offensive line.
You can still get Baker at 18-1.
Let me ask you this, Greg. I'm thinking about both Los Angeles teams who don't get a lot of notoriety. You look at their body of work this year. There's nothing wrong with it. The Rams should have won in Philadelphia. If they would have, them and the Chargers, I think, would both have to be in the conversation. Is there a prop at where are you at DraftKings that you can pick 2 teams to make a Super Bowl right now? What would the LA teams be? Because they look like they should be in the conversation.
Let's see here. LA.
I agree with you. They're
60-1.
If you can get the Rams and the Chargers to stay healthy, right now they're both the Chargers just lost a lot of people.
Well, they didn't lose that many. They lost their tackle.
Well, yeah,
and the running back's not that. The running back doesn't mean anything.
Well, it doesn't.
He wasn't the starting running back. It doesn't matter.
If you're looking for depth at the running back position,
but you can find those guys at the trade deadline if you need them. It's
the
running back is the easiest position.
It means a lot. The running back, right?
Yeah, he's the number 2 running back. And by the way, Najee Harris missed the entire offseason because his injury. It's why the Steelers didn't re-sign him. So it's not a surprise that he got banged up. I think Harbaugh will find another guy because he's definitely not going to go with the guy that's his backup now. The guy that's his backup now is a guy that he played with at Michigan. He coached at Michigan with, who is like this truck. He's like a former linebacker converted running back truck that is really a very good special teams player. That's all he is now in the NFL. but the Chargers brought him in as more of a special teams guy. All right, you're a third running back, a fourth running back, whatever. Now he's pushed into the second role, so he's not going to be there long. They'll find a backup. So, but everybody else, I mean, the main injury, of course, is the tackle because they can't fix that. But here is your answer, Mark, 60-1.
That looks appealing.
Yeah, it does. It does. It really does.
So this is still a good way to do it. And I think we've seen a little bit. I mean, obviously we've seen a little bit of football to kind of, I mean, the Bills and the Bucks at 30-1 is not crazy because all you're predicting is the game. And the Bills are the favorite in the East right now. So if you could just get the Bucks in the Super Bowl, it's 30-1.
Well, you have two division winners for all intents and purposes there in the Bills and the Bucks.
Yeah, they both easily, without injuries, they both should easily win their divisions.
Right.
Where the Rams have a little bit of a problem, and so the Chargers, but the Chargers are already 3-0 in their division. How that can't be any better than that.
No, they're 2 legs up on Kansas City already.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if Baltimore beats Kansas City this week and the Chargers can't find a way to win this division, then who knows? But it's Harbaugh. He'll get it done.
I'm going to speak out. I do not think Baltimore's going to beat Kansas City this week.
This week?
No, I do not think they'll.
I agree with you.
Yeah, well, we analyzed that game on the Playbook show. So if anybody wants to find out more about how we broke that down, you can check out the Playbook podcast. We should actually have a link in this show in the description. We went over 4 games in the NFL yesterday with Jim and Andy. And then we also went with 4 games in college football, which we're going to get to in a little bit. Did you make that prediction yesterday, Jim, or did you need 24 hours?
I don't remember what I said. I don't remember what I said 1 hour ago. I mean, I just.
That's why we record these.
I just know that I have my money on Kansas City to win the game straight up.
Sticks out, right?
All right.
I mean, when I look at it, I got Spagnuolo as a defensive coordinator, and I know there's nothing wrong with that defense. And you're going up against Baltimore that has shown me weaknesses of offense, which is their strength, by the way. Now, Kansas City doesn't seem to have a flow on offense that I feel comfortable with. I mean, it just seems like everything is forced and not flowing and smooth on the offense. The Mahomes is still there, and he's still great. But when you talk about the running game and their passing game with all the injuries and all the mixing everybody together and Kelsey getting old and all that, their offense isn't that impressive. But their defense is going to take advantage of some of the Baltimore mistakes on their offensive system.
Well, that's the dynamic of the game.
Yeah,
the Chiefs' offense not doing well, but the Ravens. The funny thing is, I mean, there's like 28 teams in the NFL would love to have the Ravens' offensive problems.
Oh, hell yeah!
I mean, what are they like leading the NFL in points scored? Probably. I mean, so I understand their offensive line issues, but it's still the Ravens' offense, and it's a lot better than the Chiefs' offense right now. That's for sure. But that's the beauty of the matchup, isn't it? It's the Chiefs' defense against the Ravens' offense.
Andy Reid at all, though, about this current state of the offense for Kansas City. He knows the defense wins games. That's the approach he's going to take. He's taking now, and he also knows that Patrick Mahomes will be there to answer the bell in and if he's needed in a big football game. So I don't think he's focusing purely to the offense. I think he's building a defense there right now. And if he continues to keep doing so, I can see them playing in the AFC Championship game again.
Hey, Mark,
yes.
Gary, the amazing thing is both of these teams are 1-2. One of them is going to be 1-3.
Is that incredible?
That's unbelievable.
Yep.
At this point. One of these teams is going to be 1-3.
Well, one of these teams is going to be 1-3 too. Tennessee and Houston, because one of them is going to win. Maybe we
expected that, Greg.
one of them is going to win, and look, Houston has been competitive in their 3 games. It's not like they've looked awful. It's just that they haven't been able to come up with big plays. The offense is struggling a little bit. They did get their number 2 receiver back last week. The running game is pretty non-existent because they lost Mixon before the season began, and they have no idea when they're getting him back. So they've got their problems, but I see blowout here. I think Tennessee is going to fire their coach on Sunday night. I think this is going to be the game that's going to do it. Tennessee and Houston, if you look at the matchup, trend wise, it's a complete opposites. And what I mean is, of course, Houston's got the goods and Tennessee's got the bads. Houston has been, the dominant team in the division, and they've also dominated Tennessee lately. Tennessee, meanwhile, just 2-11 straight up ATS in the division since 2023. And they're 0-11 against the spread as an AFC dog of more than 3 when they take on a losing team. I just think that when you're Callahan and you're the head coach and you were hired because of your offense, you know how to run an offense, or you know how to coach offense, and now you're coaching this team and they pretty much have done nothing since you've been there, and then you relinquish your play calling duties. That's desperation. And I don't think that's going to be the fix. And I think Houston is just jonesing for this game to let out all of their anguish over the last 3 weeks and punish Tennessee on Sunday. And if they don't, then I think Houston's got a lot of problems.
Well, I would expect Houston to win this game, but do you feel comfortable laying 7 or 7.5 with a team that can't score?
That's exactly the thing. Exactly right. And a quarterback that looks like he's struggling here. He's got a little bit of a deer in the headlights look,
Their offensive line has been terrible.
Well, that hasn't changed.
And look at 11 turnovers in their first 3 games, something like that for Houston. That's not good. You're not going to win football games like that. I think they're like -8 overall in turnovers for the season here, right out of the gate. That has to change as well.
Another game that we want to talk about is you've got a Patriot team. Big surprise. Everybody overrated the Patriots when the season began. And this is their 3rd home game in 4. This is Carolina's 3rd road game in 4. And Carolina had their upset 30-0 last week. And the Patriots, meanwhile, even though they outperformed Pittsburgh, they still had too many turnovers. That's because Stevenson continues to fumble the football, and Drake May continues to be sloppy with the ball when he's getting sacked. And so they've got some problems there. I don't understand. Unless you're Tennessee or New Orleans, I don't understand how the Patriots can give any team with a pulse 5.5 points. And I think the Panthers have a pulse. So I think there's way too many points.
I mean, the Panthers had less than 200 yards last week and won 30-0. I mean, to some degree, you'd have to say Atlanta beat Atlanta.
That's exactly what it was, Jim. The cuffs and the collars did not match for Carolina. 30-0. And they gained just a little over 200 yards. Come on, Maybe they go into New England on a little bit of a false high here.
I couldn't lay 5.5 comfortably. I mean, maybe I could for pizza money or something. But right. May looks like he has that second-year regression stuff going on, and of course they got the new coach. We're talking about some really bad teams. I mean, we just talked about 4 teams back to back: Tennessee, Houston, New England, and Carolina. None of these teams are any good.
No.
Welcome to the NFL, Jim.
Well, in this decade or right now, yes.
I don't think it's changing, unfortunately. Chargers and the Giants. I know you guys talked about this at the restaurant on Wednesday. You can check that out at 3:00 Eastern every Wednesday as Jim and the boys, and he always has 2 of the best guest handicappers on each week at Dom DeMarco's in Vegas. So again, it's every Wednesday at 3:00 Eastern. The Chargers are a 6-point favorite over the Giants. And this is like one of those trap games that you have to worry about if you're a Charger fan.
This has got a lot of stuff going. By the way, Mark, I don't know if you saw it, but we had Kenny White and his daughter on the show.
Nice.
And they both know their stuff. And of course, Kenny for a long time.
For sure.
But the DNA of this family is,
it runs true, huh?
The grandfather, the father, and now the daughter. I mean, these people really know football.
Yes, they do.
There was a lot of good stuff. The Chargers win 3 straight division games, Mark. So
that's the key, Jimmy.
Yeah, and now they travel 3,000 miles with a banged up offensive line and a running back they just lost. Herbert got hit 15 times last week. That's not a good thing. Now the Giants are changing quarterbacks. That has to be an upgrade because Wilson was absolutely horrible. Even though Dart, we have no idea. That's still got to be an upgrade. What the hell do you do with this game?
Well, I think you hit it up right on the head. You got the Chargers in here off 3 consecutive division wins in a row, now playing game 4 of the season here. That's really rather a rare commodity to do. And I ran that in the database, and it's not pretty here for the Chargers. In fact, I think the Giants may win their first football game this season, if for no other reason because of the situation here. When you do that, you win 3 consecutive division games in a row to start the season, and you go favorite in a non-division game. They've lost 10 straight times in a row, straight up.
Wow.
So here come the Chargers into New York with a changing of the guard. The fans are going to be all geeked up. Jackson Dart behind center.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole new look and a whole new feel to the New York Giants here. I think the Giants win this game.
Wow.
Well, they're going to get the backup bump, which went 3-0 against the spread last week, 2-1 straight up.
Is that right?
The loss was the Jets.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah.
And a trend, though, that does work for the Chargers, actually the only one that does, is Harbaugh 7-2 against the spread as a road favorite with the Chargers, including 1-0 this year, while the Giants are 2-7-1 against the spread their last 10 as a home dog. Chargers making the west to east coast trip for a 1 o'clock early start on top of it. And then we wrap it up with the Sunday night game between the Packers and the Cowboys. And in this one, it's up to now 7. And you kind of feel that after the way the Packers got embarrassed on offense against Cleveland, that they are going to take it out on this pathetic Cowboy defense. And that 47.5 has to be mainly, because to me that looks low, has to be mainly because I guess Vegas doesn't think the Cowboys are going to score much. Because how in the world does the Packers not score 35 or 40 points in this game? I
have seen in the last hour, Greg, a lot of 47s changed into 46 and 46.5.
I don't get it unless that's the thing. Unless they think without CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys are just going to score like 6 points.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, Green Bay could be ahead 27-0 at halftime and just sit on it. I mean,
sure.
this is there any defense that looks worse than Dallas right now?
No.
Nobody.
Thank God, this has been horrible to watch.
Well, in Green Bay, you got a team here that hasn't scored more than 27 points yet this season. Now, it's probably forthcoming in this football game against Dallas.
It better be.
But I got to ask you guys, how much does the Micah Parsons situation play into this game? Is he the one that's going to want this game more than blood, or would Jerry Jones want to show him backwards? I don't know if Jerry Jones' team can do anything about it, but what do you think, Jim? Does the Micah Parsons story factor into the game?
I think it does emotionally. If the Green Bay players, well, first of all, Green Bay lost the game last week when they were up 10-0 with 3 minutes to go. They lost the game they shouldn't have lost. They're going to their bye off this. I don't see this team losing 2 games going into their bye. This is a very good football team. No, I have my issues with Love. I don't really, I've never been 100% sold on him. I do know that he has ability, and every once in a while he looks great.
He'll flash it now and then, yeah.
Average. But Dallas's defense, they made Russell Wilson look like he was a god. And the other 2 games, I mean, he scored 6 points and 9 points. I mean, that's how and then he made Caleb Williams look like a god. This Dallas team's defense, they got Eberflus as a defensive coordinator, who's a horrible coach. And they are terrible. Now, you can say, okay, they can go score a lot of points, but now you got Lamb out. that I know Dak's a good quarterback, but he's not a $60 million quarterback, which what they pay him, but he's good. I mean, when you see the line going up and the total going down, I think that tells you everything.
Well,
real good analysis.
Keep this in mind too. And this goes back to the Eagles. The only team that is yet to exploit that Cowboy defense was the Eagles. So they scored 24 points.
That was the first game of the year.
Let's not make excuses for them.
Well,
that's 300 total yards against a terrible defense.
So the first 3 games of the year, just like preseason, because they don't practice.
Right. So I guess the Cowboys defense will be okay on Sunday night then.
The Cowboys defense will never be okay.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though, that works against the Packers. This is the reason why I didn't like them last week, is they're just 1-9 against the spread as a road favorite of more than 3 in their last 10. And it showed their ugly head again last week. This has not been a good spot for them. And your question, Mark, I do wonder about, I think, look, we all know Parsons didn't really want to leave. He wanted the contract. They wouldn't give it to him. Yeah, he's going to want to go out there and have 10 sacks. But I also have to think, and Jerry Jones has nothing to do with this. He's not playing the game. So I got to believe that there's got to be, or maybe there's not, but I got to believe that there's got to be some pride in the Cowboy locker room, national television. Parsons going to come try to make them look bad, and that they're going to try to, they're going to put in their best effort. So now that still may not be good enough, but that's the kind of thing that that's why I'm probably just going to stay away from the game, because I am a little bit concerned that the Cowboys are going to, maybe make this a game, which is why I kind of think this is going to go way over. I actually think this is going to be another high scoring game.
Well,
but I'm not a total guy like Victor. So
Dallas is going to have to score some points to make that happen.
Sure.
And Mark, how do you explain the line going to 7 and going down to 46?
Yeah, it doesn't really equate, especially if you're playing against a bad defense. You're not looking for defense to become a factoring into the total. So it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know what's going on there.
All right. So that's going to be our NFL segment for the week. Jim?
Well, okay, I'm going to give you a teaser.
Yes, you can. Go ahead and give us a teaser. Give us whatever you want.
They got to shop for prices because the bookmakers are making prices expensive. But if you can find a decent price, like at minus 120 or something like that, I would tease Green Bay down to -0.5 or -1, and Denver -1 or 1.5.
Okay. So basically like 6 points right around there, each team?
Yeah. 6 or 6.5.
Okay.
Now, you do get better prices if you go to a 3-team teaser. They haven't jacked that price up. So if there's a third team that you like, then you might get, like, for example, I think you both thought Houston might be a play.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
So you get, let's say hypothetically, Houston, Green Bay, and Denver, or maybe you throw in, if you really feel like Carolina is really just a lucky team and New England's going to shape up, it's another team in that range. You could say New England.
That's who I would throw in.
Green Bay and Denver. And now you got a 3-team 6-point teaser, which you're going to get a little bit more favorable pricing on and a bigger payoff as well. It's at the 2-team teasers. Some bookmakers have jacked the price up quite a bit, and it's kind of unfair. But like I play around, I have a lot of outs, so I'm still getting -115, -120. But I know people out there playing -135. I mean, come on, that's really unfair. You shouldn't be doing that.
Let me throw this note in there about that third team on your teaser, Jim. And I'm not a teaser guy at all, but I understand the value of taking these teams to point spread ranges where you have to do it if you're going to do it. In the Carolina New England football game, you have a real unique situation there where you have one team that won the game and lost the yards over 100, playing the other guy who lost the game but won the yards over 100. That's what happens in the Carolina New England game. That's a collision there, and those are usually really pretty good statistical plays.
So New England would be the side?
Yes, they would.
Okay.
All right. So there you go.
I didn't realize that, Mark. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Jim, we'll look out for your video with Victor that's coming up later tonight.
Really good stuff. Victor is, I know, Mark, you've worked with him forever. He's
a sharp cookie.
He's a genius, man.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, he's really good. Really, really good.
And even nicer as a person, Jim.
I've never met him in person, but I would like to.
Yeah, even nicer.
All right, guys. Jim, appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you again on Monday when you and I recap the weekend in the NFL.
Okay.
Sounds best good. Of luck this week, Jim. Take care. Tell Rosby said hey, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So that's our NFL segment for the week.
Stay with me 1 second here. Andy's texting me, and I've got to get some contest picks into him for the college contest of the Superbook.
Go ahead and use your avatar.
My avatar.
Do you know how to use the avatar, Mark?
I don't have an avatar.
Oh, you haven't created your avatar yet?
No, I haven't, no.
Okay. It's only the 4th week of the season. Don't worry about it, Mark.
Well, obviously I'm not an avatar guy, you know.
No, not yet. We'll find one for you.
Okay.
All right. So we'll you just pop in then when you're ready. And in the meanwhile, I'm going to get Mark's pick in the NFL. He's going to give us a pick, just like Jim did. And then we're going to go over the college game. And in the college game, we have 4 games we're going to discuss. And where are the games here? We have, matter of fact, in the Playbook ATS podcast show that we did yesterday, all 4 of the games that we talked about were Big Ten games, including the big game coming up on Saturday night at Penn State. So really, if you look at it in college, I'm trying to think if there were 3 big ones. How many big ones there are? We know there are 2 going right head to head, which is just blows. I don't know why they do this, but they're doing Oregon at Penn State and Alabama at Georgia at the same time. So, I mean, really? I mean, the SEC game of the week is usually, like, their best game is usually at 3:30. So I don't have any idea why they decided to do it this way and go head to head. I guess their game of the week this week is going to be LSU and Ole Miss. And that's one of the games that we are going to talk about. So we're going to talk about those 2 big games in the SEC. And we're also going to be talking about the Notre Dame-Arkansas game and the game tonight between Virginia and Florida State. So we're going to get into that in just a bit. So once again, as soon as Mark's ready, he'll pop in here. And while he is still going over Andy's information, maybe what I can do is pop up futures, because I was going to talk about this later. Here are some futures that I like in college football. So I'm going to pop these in here. And so you can see these are the ones I think you should take advantage of right now. All right. So I would take advantage of Penn State to win the national championship if you like Penn State. All right, so this is why this is about. Of course, if you like them week 1, I think they were still 7-1. They have played nobody, so there's no particular reason other than if you really like them, take them now before the game on Saturday night. You might lose 2 points. Penn State might end up the favorite to win the national championship come Sunday morning, 5-1, 4-1. It's possible. So if you like Penn State, go with Penn State. The other championship play I would go with is Indiana. I think what they showed us in the game against Illinois was pretty impressive. And again, we talked about Mendoza earlier on the show. He's got first-round potential as a quarterback, something they did not have last year. They got a good coach. And if they go out there and handle Iowa on Saturday, which I believe they're going to do. Now, Mark actually is picking an upset. You want to find out what we talked about this game, check out the Playbook ATS podcast yesterday. But if they do wind up handling Iowa, then pull over Indiana right now at 45-1, because that could be cut in half. I could see that going down to 25-1, maybe even 20-1 if they handle Iowa on Saturday. And then I just have to do it because I've said this about every week anyway. I guess I just have to keep reminding people it's not going to happen. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you it's going to happen. I just think it's a fun thing for me to go on all season as long as they're undefeated. And that's Vanderbilt at 160-1. So I also think Missouri's not bad. I mean, Missouri's a 65-1 shot that I've liked a lot as well. And they probably have a more serious claim to a sleeper in the SEC based on, Drinkwitz is a very good coach, very underrated. And this is a team that actually looks better than last year's team. And I don't think anybody expected that. Also, taking a look at conference winning futures that I like right now as bargains, I would take a look first of all, starting in the ACC. I know this is dangerous, but Clemson is now 50-1. Okay. And you have to do a little bit of homework to see, is it possible that Clemson could still win the ACC? Or is this going to be a 6-loss season and Dabo Swinney is going to be the next Gundy and he's going to get fired in 6 months or 12 months? I don't think that's going to be the case. I actually think that the bye is coming at the perfect time. And I believe that all they have to do, they got to run the table. All right. So they're going to play SMU and they're going to play Florida State. So those are two of the teams that they have to compete against. So if they win those games, they're out of the picture. Keep in mind that they would have to play only one team in the championship game. So that's one more team out of the picture. Don't worry about, say, Miami, because they're not playing Miami. So put Miami in the ACC championship game. That means that they have to find a way around Georgia Tech, because they lost to Georgia Tech. And I think that's about it, to tell you the truth. There's not a whole lot here, because they would knock off SMU. They would knock off Florida State. I don't think Louisville is going to hang around. And this is the team that would be worried about the most. So maybe if they can get into a tie, a 3-way tie, maybe the 3-way tie will do it, because I don't think Georgia Tech's going to lose 3 ACC games. Look, this is just a wild, crazy futures play, but I just don't think it's the worst idea in the world to get Antonio Williams back for the first time against Syracuse. They put a lot of points up on the board. They just couldn't stop Syracuse because there's definitely something wrong there. But they get a reset from the bye. They're a talented team, and it's 50-1. I probably even spent too much time talking about them already. And then 2 teams in the Big 12. I would take a look at BYU at 15-1. I think they're for real. I've said it before. I think they got the best coaching staff, top to bottom, head coach, OC, DC, special teams, and all of the Big 12. And I think they're going to beat Colorado on Saturday night. It's a crazy site, Colorado, because of anything can happen there. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. But it's still a much better team than Colorado. Anyway, the bottom line is that BYU is, in my mind, I think they're as talented as most of these other teams in the conference. Texas Tech had an impressive win against Utah, no question about it. And I'm big on Arizona State. But hey, for 15-1, why not? And I also like Cincinnati at 28-1. And if they're going to win or get in contention, they're going to have to beat Kansas, which I'm going to predict to do on Saturday. But we'll see. I know there's a lot of people down on Satterfield. I'm willing to give him a shot this year and say that he can actually get Cincinnati headed in the right direction. And then when you take a look at Indiana, I think you should jump on Indiana at 12-1 as well. Nobody can tell me right now that Indiana can't play with Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Penn State, because I think they can now. So I think that they're as talented, well, not top to bottom, obviously, but I think at the right places, quarterback and such. So I think 12-1 is a nice spot for Indiana. Also, we've got Western Conference USA is terrible. Don't waste your time there. The MAC, Western Michigan, I think is a good play at 11-1. If you look at them, they had a overtime loss to undefeated North Texas, and they also had an upset win over Toledo. And so they have actually been a little bit better than most people think. That's why they've all of a sudden been the 5th choice now. So I think that's one to keep an eye on. I like the direction of the program. Moving on, Utah State, Bronco Mendenhall. He has something going on there with Utah State. I know they've got a long way to go, but I think that once you get past Boise State, any of these teams can end up in the championship game. UNLV is not the same team as last year. They're not as talented. So watch out for Utah State. They just got to get to the championship game. If they can do that, then you got a shot. All you need for them to do is get off to a good start in the first quarter, and you can hedge your bet against Boise. And then you've got the SEC, and this is going to round it out. And you've got Texas A&M at 10-1. You have Missouri at 22-1. And, of course, my boys at Vandy at 40-1. But Texas A&M still 10-1, and after the big win at Notre Dame, and it looks like that all you have to do is watch them play, and they've got everything you want. They've got a really good dual threat quarterback. They've got weapons at receiver, and I think they're a for real team in the SEC this season, especially since there are no juggernauts in the SEC. So I think they're a favorable pick at 10-1. And then we're going to wrap up all of our future talk with our Heisman. Here's our Heisman pick, and here they are. But now, look, when you have Mendoza and Dante Moore, keep an eye on him on Saturday night. If he wants to win the Heisman, he's going to have a big game against Penn State. But when you have these players up at the top at the Heisman, that means it's wide open. So therefore, a couple of players to look out for. Jaden Maeva from USC. Lincoln Riley produces Heisman winners, and he is off to a great start this season. So somehow, if USC can still hang in there for most of the season and be a credible team, I think Jaden Maeva is somebody to keep an eye on. Also, Drew Aller, as I said before, watch him tonight against Saturday night against Oregon. I think he's going to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the draft, could be the top quarterback overall next year. So if he has a big game, watch out. And then you've got Haynes King and Arch Manning. And of course, keep in mind that we talked about this last week. Mark went with Arch Manning as his pick for the Heisman at 30-1. He was the favorite to win the Heisman when the season began. So you're getting value here, especially if he has a big game against Oklahoma in a couple of weeks. And I'm a big Haynes Kings fan, as you know. He's also getting 30-1. And then the last player on the board that I want to talk about, of course, is my boy from Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia. Because if Vanderbilt's going to have a big season, then why can't Diego Pavia be a big part of that, which I'm sure he will be, because he's been like the entire program at this point. And if he could have if he can engineer another upset against Alabama in a couple of weeks, then watch out for Diego Pavia. So I think I've milked the futures for long enough. And I think that means we're hopefully ready to see Mark Lawrence pop back on the screen when he's ready. And when he is, I'm going to get his take on, another player I should throw in there for the Heisman is my boy Ahmad Hardy from Missouri, the running back. He's now at 55-1. And as you know, I've been behind him all season. It was a big reason why I picked Missouri as a sleeper in the SEC. Prabula, of course, the Penn State backup, that's a big part of it. But Ahmad Hardy coming from ULM as a freshman sensation, and he is the real deal. I mean, Ahmad Hardy is a first-round talent in the NFL when he comes out in a couple of years, and I think he's got a shot. Problem is, he's a running back, and he's playing for Missouri. Very rarely are you going to get a Heisman in that scenario. If you're a running back, you have to play like for Michigan, like you saw a couple of years ago when Blake Corum was on his way to win the Heisman until the injury occurred late in the year. And it just happened to be the national championship year for Michigan too. So that's what's going to happen. Or that's what I think, you should want to keep an eye on if you're taking a look at some futures for before this weekend, before Saturday's games. We're also going to talk about double-digit upsets. I've got 4 of them. I talked about this on Wednesday, and every Wednesday we talk about the double-digit upsets. Matter of fact, we talk about everything on Wednesday. I talk about all of the NFL plays, all of the college football plays. So far, we're off to a really good start with our top play of the week with the Seattle Seahawks. So hopefully you were able to cash that in if you liked the game, and we were. So we were real happy about the ending of the game. That almost got away from us. And then, of course, we talk about everything else. College, we'll throw in the upsets. So, but on this show, in case you don't get an opportunity to watch that show on Wednesdays, we just go over some of the games, including the 4 games we're going to get to, and then also talk about those double-digit upsets. And I might as well, again, since I'm still waiting for Mark, I might as well go ahead and give you a few of them right now and give you the reasons why. And sometimes there's really not a specific reason why. It's just that when I'm doing double-digit money line plays in college football, there are reasons, no question about it. I'm just not picking a team to pick a team. But there's, it's really just more of I have a formula, which is I try to get at least 4 of them every week. Because if you hit 1, you get your money back, and sometimes you're even making money. You hit 2, and you're doing really well. So we'll go over that in just a little bit because I'm hoping Mark is ready. Let me see if Mark's ready. Mark, you ready?
I am ready, Greg. Sorry for the delay.
Well, I went over all of the back end material that we were going to talk about a little bit later on. So I'm able to get all that out of the way, the futures and all that kind of stuff. So
cool.
We're ready. So let's get
let's rock and roll.
And we talked all about the Big Ten on the Playbook Show. So again, you want to find out about those 4 really big games from the Big Ten, including the Penn State game against Oregon. Check out the Playbook podcast from yesterday. But in today's show, we're going to have 3 games that are going to center around the SEC and 1 game that is going to actually kick off tonight, and it's going to be in the ACC. And we're going to get an opportunity to check out Florida State again as they take on Virginia. And I don't think anybody really knows what to expect from Florida State now after their win, the surprising win against Alabama. Was that the beginning of a sleeper national championship season, or was it everything just happened at once? They had the entire offseason to prepare for Alabama, and everything worked out well. They're definitely going to have a good season, but there are going to still be some limitations. And that's why I'm going to take Virginia in this game because I kind of look at this game with Tony Elliott as the game that he really does need and the program needs to just,
make a
put his stamp
right
on the program. And I think this is no better situation. It's a Friday night. It's a national championship game. They're a dog. They've got a lot of offensive weapons. So I think this is a team that is more than capable of moving the ball a little bit against that Florida State defense and making this a really close football game.
I agree with you 100%. I think this is a great spot for Virginia to make their season, or at least keep it headed in the right direction here. They're coming in here 3-1. They could be 4-1 after this and virtually assure themselves a bowl bid, which would be really, really good. It hasn't been since, when you look here, 2016, the last time they were bowling. So, but what I really like about this football team and the way they're playing is they've won the yards at every game they played so far. But like Smith Barney used to say, they've earned it. Okay. They've outstatted every opponent they played so far this football season here. Now they're going to take on a red hot Florida State football team. I like the upset in this contest here. And you also take a look at what they have going for them in conference games. They're 13-3-1 in the last 17 conference games, 7-0 against an opponent that's coming off a straight up an ATS win. I think it goes to 8-0 in this football game tonight, straight up an ATS. I think Virginia wins the game.
And they're also 11-1 against the spread as ACC dogs of 6 or more.
There you go.
So a lot of ACC trends that looking pretty good for Virginia right now. And here's another one, and I think this is really important. Even though this is a nationally televised game, let's keep in mind, next week, Florida State hosts Miami.
There you go.
That's something to definitely keep in mind. Okay, next up, we're going to talk SEC, except for one team, but it's an SEC/independent matchup between Notre Dame and Arkansas. And this is going to kick things off on Saturday at 12. And you had to be really impressed for sure with the way Arkansas came out this year. They got a nice young quarterback, Boise State transfer. Everything looked great for Arkansas the first couple of games. They go to Ole Miss, and you kind of felt that this was going to be a game. Ole Miss, their young quarterback, Austin Simmons, who did not play well the first couple of games, even though Ole Miss blew out some weak opponents, was not available. And it brought the line down, which actually I didn't understand because I wasn't really betting Arkansas because I actually wanted Simmons to play because I didn't think he played very well. But the line came down from I think it was I don't know, remember what it was like 8 or mark, and it came down 4 or something like that.
Yes, it did. It crashed. Yeah.
And so they get into this really tough game back and forth. And I'm like, what the hell? Arkansas can't stop the backup quarterback now who's playing better than the young kid Simmons, this kid Chambliss, who was an FCS quarterback last year. But that's Lane Kiffin. So that's going back and forth. and Arkansas is driving down the field at the end of the game, and there's an interception. And this is the story of Arkansas. It's what killed them last year with turnovers. It just killed their season, and they did not have a good year. And so here they go with a big turnover at the end of the game. And so they move on to Memphis, and their defense is not holding Memphis, but their offense is coming up and down the field. And here they are just running down Memphis's throat under 2 minutes to go. They're about to pound it into the end zone. And what happens? They fumble the football. So what I'm getting to is that Arkansas is just, I can't take a team like that in a big game like this. And I'm actually kind of surprised, Mark, that this is 4.5. It's like, wait a second. All of a sudden, Notre Dame's not a good team just because they lost 2 very close games to 2 very good teams. I don't get it. And I'm happy it's down to 4.5. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but Notre Dame is 22-6 against the spread in their last 28 as a road favorite. And Arkansas is considered middle of the pack at best in the SEC. And Notre Dame is Notre Dame. So, yeah, I mean, of course I'm taking Notre Dame.
Well, one thing that you overlook a little bit here, Greg, is Arkansas is still yet another Southeast Conference dog. And they've barked really loud this football season, have the SEC dogs, especially when they've been outside the conference. And you look at Sam Pittman here and what he does best, it's taking points. He's 24-11 as a dog, 12-3, and the line is smaller than 6 points, less than 6 points. And I take a look at their body of work this year, and I know that they're turning the ball over at the most inopportune times, but they played 4 football games. They've out-yarded all 4 contests here.
Sure.
I think this game is incredibly important to Arkansas. It is for Notre Dame, too, after they laid the egg out of the gate this football season here. But I'm going to grab Arkansas plus the points. I think they could be a live home dog here. I think Notre Dame wins, but Arkansas cashes.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame loses this game. Wow. Imagine starting 0-3. Their season would be over. There ain't no coming back from that. But we'll see. I mean, like you said, Arkansas needs the game. And if maybe they turn things around and don't turn the ball over on a drive at the end of the game, then maybe they can finally get a big win for Sam Pittman. Because if Arkansas does not rectify things quickly, keeping in mind, this is the big also bad part of it. The fact that you blew those 2 games, their schedule coming up is just, they got tough team after tough team after tough team. And that's what you can't do in the SEC. If you blow games early in the season before that murderous schedule comes, you can be in big trouble. And Sam Pittman's job could be on the line. And that's like what you said. He really does need this game. So
he needs it in the worst of ways, and it'd be a big notch to beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame, by the way, did beat Purdue in their last football game. Struggled, but beat them. No, it didn't struggle. Actually, they beat them 26 points. So this
they covered.
But this would be their 3rd loss, and 3 losses. It means they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little surprising. Would they give up 30 points or something like that, or I forget what it was, but yeah, there have been some defensive lapses for sure. I know there's been some concern there. Freeman's a defensive guy. It's a new D coordinator. We talked about that as a big deal because he went off to the NFL to coach the Bengals. So far it hasn't been working out for Notre Dame, but we'll see. All right, now. See, this is the thing I was talking about while you weren't here, Mark, is that I get it. You know, you've got an opportunity to have LSU and Ole Miss as your game of the week, CBS SEC game of the week. But I would preferred LSU, Ole Miss, 1 o'clock at 12 o'clock, Alabama, Georgia, SEC, CBS game of the week, because I don't want to have Alabama, Georgia at Saturday night against Oregon, Penn State. You know, I mean, as a fan, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see the 2 biggest games of the weekend going up against each other, but it's what they decided.
Well, it's like what the NFL did with Monday nights when they ran 2 Monday night games and they had them running against each other. It made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit with the Monday night game this week, the second game.
They split them
3 hours apart, right?
Now they're separate games, right?
Yeah. All right. So anyway, as far as this game is concerned, with the series, you would go with Ole Miss. The home team has won 6 out of 7 and covered all 7 the last 7 years. And keep this in mind too. With LSU, the thing that you might be wondering, like, how good is LSU? They're ranked in the top 5 as well. They should be. I haven't ranked there in the top 5. And the reason I haven't ranked in the top 5 is their defense, not their offense. And the problem that LSU is having with their offense so far is that 4 of their starting offensive linemen became NFL draft picks last April. And that's a problem because you have Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback. You have a stud running back at Durham. LSU always has a plethora of receivers. So the offensive line is really holding him back right now. The defense is what's keeping him in games, but now they're going to have to put up some points because Ole Miss is going to score.
Yeah, Ole Miss is going to score, and like you say, LSU is going to have to ring the bell here. I don't know if they can rely on defense in this particular football game. Lane Kiffin's wanted this game. He got beat last year. He's chomping at the bit. I think this is perfect, really a great spot for Ole Miss in this football game. I would have been on them like white on rice if they'd have been the home underdog here. They opened up pick, and I played them early when it was pick and waiting for it to come to the underdog. It never got there. They're going to go off the small favorite in the football game right now as we talk. But what I like is Lane Kiffin here in revenge. He's really, really good in revenge. I think this is an opportune spot for him. And this offense, like you say, for Ole Miss is real. I mean, they can put up points in a hurry. And I think they're going to end up doing just that against this LSU defense that maybe is overrated. Like you bring out a good point. They are good. There's no question about it. But you've got what's this? The fewest points, 34 points that Ole Miss has scored this year. They're rolling right now, this offense here. I like Ole Miss in the upset here.
Yeah, the only trend that works against Ole Miss is their 0-9-1 against the spread off back-to-back ATS wins, straight-up wins versus SEC teams. And you know what? That right there shows you, I think, what's been part of the problem for Lane Kiffin is that every year they start, they look like they're getting on a roll in the SEC, and they win early in non-conference, and their first few games it looks like they're getting on a roll, and then they have that clunker game. Now, usually it actually happens against teams like Kentucky, I think it was last year. Usually it happens when you don't expect it. So this is a perfect situation for Lane Kiffin this year. And how many teams in college football can, especially nowadays with the lack of quarterback play, how many can go to the bench and get a kid that's actually playing better than the starter? I mean, I know he even keeps saying that when Simmons is healthy, that Simmons is going to start. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I don't know. Maybe he's just saying it. I know maybe if he starts Simmons, he can take him out after a quarter, but it doesn't make any sense to me why he keeps making it seem like it's Simmons is healthy, he's going to play him.
Well, he was a high-profile transfer, as you know. And, that's what Lane Kiffin wanted. He got what he wanted, a quarterback that had a legitimacy and some chance to even be whispered in the Heisman Trophy talk before the season began. He's obviously not playing that way. I think he does have the potential. And this, who knows, if he does play that way this game, it could be his breakout game.
Yeah. Again, I don't know. I don't know if they've designated the starter yet, if Simmons is healthy enough to play. But I mean, look, if I'm an Ole Miss backer and I'm putting money on Ole Miss, I'm hoping he ain't playing. So,
well, that line's telling me that he is, Greg, because like I say, it opened pick, it went to 1.5.
Okay.
Ole Miss, and it hasn't moved. You think if he wasn't there, you'd be getting back to pick or dog, but it's still sitting pretty rock solid right there.
And then we get the game of the week in the SEC, and this is the Alabama-Georgia game. It's also our final game to talk about, and this is going to be really tough because everybody's new quarterbacks on both sides, a lot of newness from guys who graduated. Even on Alabama's side, even DeBoer's there last year, but he's still relatively new. So there's still kind of a lot of newness here. But what concerns me about Georgia is that defense, boy, did they look bad against Tennessee. I mean, they just got shredded. And I've never seen this Georgia under Kirby Smart. I have never seen his defense get shredded like that before. Now, it could have been a game. Could have been one game, one off, and maybe we'll see that. But Alabama, they had their clunker against FSU. And the thing about that game, Mark, is that I know everybody came out of it just slamming DeBoer. He let the players run the asylum kind of deal. The players didn't care. They were up all hours of the night before the game. all sorts of stories that we were hearing about how DeBoer should be fired. Now, that's typical for Alabama fans down south when they lose a football game, especially with a new young coach. But then Alabama, since that loss, and by the way, I didn't really think it was a bad loss. I thought that they played okay. They just got beat. I didn't think they played it sloppy. I don't think that, maybe they didn't make tackles and things of that nature. There's a little sloppiness in there. I get it. But it wasn't like they were just embarrassed. I mean, how do we know how good Florida State is? They could end up being a real good team this year.
Yeah, what if they go undefeated this year?
Right? Yeah, right. So that's why I was impressed with what I've seen so far with Alabama since then. I thought if they were going to be this players running the asylum deal, then this team would have been looked really bad the last couple of weeks, that everybody would have gave up. It would have been an awful season. I don't see that. I think this is the team that I thought that they were going to be in the beginning of the season, which is why I'm going to take them in the game. They have beaten Georgia 7 of 8 times. They have, in the last 4 matchups, been the dog all 4 times, and they've won 3 of them. And Georgia's just 3-10 against the spread as a home favorite in their last 13. So I'm going to take Alabama here. But it's obviously just going to be one of those games that, I'm not really sure what's going to happen. It should be a lot of fun to watch.
Well, Bama's in a price range that they've really done well in. That's as a dog of 7 or fewer points. They've cashed 6 straight times in a row in this particular role, as does fit the Alabama MO. They've always been a good underdog because they've always been a quality football team. Kalen DeBoer comes in here with some pretty good numbers of his own. If you take a look at him in his career as either a small favorite of 3 or less or an underdog, in that role, he's 17-4 straight up and 14-3-1 against the spread. I'm talking about an underdog role or a small favorite. That's pretty impressive when you can win 17 of 21 times straight up. And that's the role that DeBoer will dress up in this particular role. I'm not going to be at all surprised if this is not an upset for Alabama. I realize Georgia has the revenge here, but if Alabama loses this game, they're going to have 2 losses in the season. They'll be looking up at Georgia, and they might not make it to the SEC championship game. If they don't make it there, they will not be playing in the college football playoff.
Yeah, Georgia will, they can afford the loss better than Alabama, no question about it. But yeah, 2 losses, and Alabama would have to run the table. And then if they do that, then, we'll see. But again, it's a tough schedule. And matter of fact, I actually just, I really like Alabama to win too, because I think they're playing Vanderbilt next. So maybe it'd be a nice little wait for Vanderbilt to catch them right when they want to, even though I'm sure Alabama can't wait for that game, revenge and all after losing. But anyway, you brought up a good point too, Mark, is about the fact that they're the dog here. When they lost to Florida State, they were a 2-touchdown favorite. So,
yeah, think about that. 2-touchdown favorite against Florida State, dog against Georgia.
Yes.
I don't think there's a 16-point disparity between the 2 teams. Florida State and Georgia.
No, I agree. No, not now. No. By the way, David, I don't know if you were listening before, if you caught us, but we do like Virginia. I like, and I agree. I mean, it's one of my 2-to-1 money line plays this week as an outright upset pick. So I don't think you're going to have to worry. Oh, you might not have to worry about, let's just put it that way. You might not have to worry. FSU fans might not have to worry about that much longer if they lose on Friday night. And I do wonder, I don't think if Florida State loses a good game, which I think it would be. I think if Virginia beats them, I think it'll be a good loss in a way, because it's a decent Virginia team. I don't think Florida State's season would be over. I think depending on how they look, I still think that they're going to have a team more than capable of winning the ACC and being in the playoffs. I don't think they're a national championship team just yet, but just get to the playoffs first, right?
Would that be provided they don't lose at Clemson and at Florida if they suffer this loss as well? That would be 3 and they'd be done.
Yeah, because again, as we talked about, look ahead is a possibility with the Canes coming up. And I think that's at Tallahassee next week. Okay.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Double-digit upsets. And again, you can catch my show every Wednesday. I come on usually right after the restaurant show, the handicapping show, the gym fight handicapping show. And I go over everything, NFL, all of my plays for NFL college football and double-digit upsets. But if you missed that, I have them here. And so I have 4 of them this week. And based on the upsets, the double-digit upsets, Mark, I just need one of them to cover. To break even. And out of the 4, Tell me which one that you like the best. So I've got in alphabetical order: Appalachian State, FAU, Rice, and South Alabama.
I'm going to go to the Jaguars, okay? South Alabama. They proved earlier on in the season that they're a pretty good football team. Who was it they knocked off earlier?
Well, they had a close loss to Tulane.
Yes.
And they had a competitive loss to Auburn.
Right. That's exactly right. So they played gutsy well as a good dog, as a double-digit underdog.
They just had a terrible second half last week. That's really all
now
that they
they're
had. They had a halftime lead.
1-3. They go to 1-4, and I think they can kiss their season goodbye. This football team is 3 years in a row in the bowls. I think this is a big game for South Alabama, and I think they get it. I agree with that.
Yeah, North Texas has had a couple of overtime wins this year. They had the overtime win against Western Michigan, a game that Western Michigan, I thought, kind of blew. I thought they were going to win that game. And then they had the overtime win last week against Army. So, but hey, they got this Mestamaker quarterback. He's really off to a great start for North Texas. We'll find out if they're for real in the American. If they are, they won't lose this game, but we'll see, even though it's not a conference game. All right. So do you have a besides Virginia, and I know you took Iowa yesterday as an upset. You also liked Illinois as a single-digit upset. So you've given us 3 single-digit upsets on this channel the last couple of days. Do you have any double-digit upsets?
Double-digit upsets. I was ready to give you another single-digit upset.
Oh, you did? Go ahead. Give us one.
I was going
4 single-digit upsets. I think that makes up for the one double-digit upset.
Okay, that many. You add them all together, and there you go.
You add them all together, put a parlay together, and I think you're doing well. Yeah.
That would be Arizona for me against Iowa State this week. Wildcats are playing some really good football. They don't get any credit at all. They've won and covered all 3 games. They've won the yardage really handsomely in all 3 football games. They come in here as the better offense and the better defensive dog in the contest here. And it's Iowa State that gets all the love and all the ink here. I think this is a huge, huge football game in this contest here for Brent Brennan and his football team. I think they pull the upset.
Yeah, it is going to be a big game for, like you said, Brennan and Arizona had the big win against Kansas State. I was actually surprised that game had to come down to the fourth quarter because Kansas State couldn't do anything in that game against Arizona. Matt Campbell, it's tough to bet against Matt Campbell. But the thing about this one is I don't know. I think in the past, like even last year, I think this game would be a blowout. I think Iowa State would just, okay, Arizona going on the road. Oh, yeah, we're going to show you who's for real now that you're on the road. But Iowa State just does not have that talent anymore. They're just not a high
talent, right? Yeah,
they can't score big numbers anymore. So even though I actually like him in this game, I do admit that I don't think it's going to be like it would have been, say, last year. So if they win by more than 5 or 6, I think it'll just be, still a pretty low scoring game and probably under the 48.
So I like that. Your math, Greg. 4 single-digit dogs equals 2 double-digit dogs. Good.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
All right. So anyway, that is going to do it for our show. Hope you enjoyed it. We're here every Friday at around 2:30 Eastern time with Jim Feist and Mark Lawrence. This is the show that usually ends the weekend for our live coverage, taking a look at the NFL and college football. Keep in mind, Victor and Jim recorded their show that will be available later tonight. You can check that out right here on the channel. And they go over their weekly topics. They go over totals and props. So check that out with Victor King, the Total King. No one's better at that than Victor. So look forward to seeing what Victor has in store for everybody for totals later on in the show. And Mark, you have the newsletter, of course, out every week. And how can everybody get a hold of that?
Yeah, it's available online at playbooksports.com. Also available is our midweek alert statistical newsletter. We call it our daily racing form of newsletters. You can get a real nice horse-by-horse look side-by-side at each team and how they pair up against one another. That's available now also online at playbooksports.com.
For Mark Lawrence, Greg DePalma, Jim Feist, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. That's the best way that you can subscribe to the channel in so many words, as well as, of course, supporting us. And we'll see everybody again next week right here on Proline.